Greenland, the world's largest island, a land of ice stretching 1.7 million square kilometers, 80% covered by glaciers. Only 56,000 people live here. But Greenland wasn't always frozen, and it wasn't always empty. This is a story of Greenland, from ancient hunters to Viking settlers, from colonial rule to modern independence, a story spanning 4,000 years. The year is 2500 BCE. The Arctic is warming, sea ice retreats, animals move north, following new food sources. Hunters follow the animals. These were the Sakak people, Greenland's first inhabitants. They came from what is now Canada, crossing the frozen waters in small boats made of animal skins. They brought stone tools, bone harpoons, and survival skills passed down for generations. The Sakak settled along Greenland's western coast. They hunted seals, walruses, and caribou. They fished in ice-cold waters. They built temporary camps, moving with the seasons and the animals. Life was brutal. Winter temperatures dropped to -40 degrees. Storms could kill in minutes. Food was never guaranteed. But the Sakak survived for 1,500 years. Around 800 BCE, the climate changed. It grew colder. Sea ice expanded. The animals the Sakak hunted moved south or died out. The Sakak people vanished. Whether they died out or migrated south, we don't know. They left behind stone tools, ancient camps, and mysteries. For 3 centuries, Greenland was empty. Then new people arrived, the Dorset culture, another wave of Arctic hunters from Canada. They were more advanced than the Sakak. They had better tools, warmer clothing, and sophisticated hunting techniques. The Dorset built snow houses, igloos. They carved elaborate art from ivory and bone. They hunted in complete darkness during the Arctic winter, using only starlight and the aurora borealis. But the Dorset faced the same problem as the Sakak. The Arctic climate was unpredictable. Game animals migrated unpredictably. One bad winter could doom an entire settlement. The Dorset lasted until around 1 CE. Then they too disappeared. Greenland was empty again. But far to the east in Scandinavia, a new people were rising. They built longships that could cross oceans. They raided, traded, and explored further than any Europeans before them. The Vikings. The year is 982 CE. In Iceland, a red-haired warrior named Erik Thorvaldsson has a problem. He's been exiled for murder, killing his neighbor in a land dispute. Erik is violent, proud, and stubborn. Icelanders call him Erik the Red. Icelandic law gives him 3 years of exile. Erik decides to explore west, to lands rumored to exist beyond the horizon. He sails into the unknown. After days at sea, Erik sees land, massive cliffs of ice, mountains covered in snow. But along the southwestern coast, he finds something unexpected. Green valleys, grass, even small trees. It's summer. The Arctic is experiencing a warm period. Parts of Greenland are actually green. Erik explores for 3 years. He finds fjords perfect for settlements, good grazing land, and plenty of seals and fish. He plans to return with colonists, but he needs a name that will attract settlers. Iceland has a name that sounds cold despite being relatively mild. Erik needs the opposite. He calls this frozen island Greenland. It's one of history's greatest marketing tricks. 985 CE. Erik the Red returns to Iceland with tales of Greenland's fertile valleys and abundant resources. Iceland is overcrowded. Land is scarce. Many Icelanders are willing to take a chance. Erik assembles a fleet of 25 ships carrying around 500 colonists, men, women, children, livestock, and supplies. Only 14 ships survive the crossing. The North Atlantic is merciless. Storms sink 11 vessels. Hundreds drown. But the survivors established 2 settlements on Greenland's southwest coast, the eastern settlement near modern Qaqortoq and the western settlement further north. The Vikings build farms using Icelandic techniques. They raise cattle, sheep, and goats. They hunt caribou and seals. They trade walrus ivory with Europe, a luxury item worth enormous sums. The eastern settlement grows to around 4,000 people. The western settlement reaches 1,000. They build churches, farms, and even a cathedral. For 3 centuries, Norse Greenland prospers. But the Vikings aren't alone. Around 1200 CE, a new group arrives in northern Greenland, the Thule people, ancestors of modern Inuit. They come from Alaska, migrating east across the Canadian Arctic. The Thule are perfectly adapted to Arctic life. They hunt whales using sophisticated techniques. They build kayaks and larger boats called umiaks. They have dog sleds, warm clothing, and tools designed for extreme cold. But the Norse and Thule initially had little contact. The Thule lived in the far north, the Norse in the southwest. They occupied different ecological niches. But this will change. The year's 1000 CE, Erik the Red's son, Leif Erikson, sails west from Greenland. He reaches a land he calls Vinland, North America, probably Newfoundland. The Vikings have discovered the New World 500 years before Columbus. Leif establishes a settlement at Land's O Meadows, but conflict with indigenous peoples, the Norse call them Skraelings, makes the colony unsustainable. After a few years, the Vikings abandon Vinland, but they continue trading expeditions to North America for timber, which Greenland lacks. The Greenland sagas mention these voyages for decades. Back in Greenland, Norse society is developing. They establish a parliament called the Althing. They convert to Christianity around 1000 CE. In 1126, they get their first bishop. Greenland has become part of Christian Europe, despite being at the edge of the known world. The Norse trade extensively with Norway and Iceland. They export walrus ivory, polar bear skins, and narwhal tusks, which Europeans believe are unicorn horns, selling for astronomical prices. In return, they import iron, timber, grain, and luxury goods. But this trade makes Greenland vulnerable. They depend on ships from Europe. If those ships stop coming, Greenland is isolated. The 14th century brings disaster. Around 1300, the climate shifts. The Middle Eastern warm period ends. The Little Ice Age begins. Temperatures drop, sea ice expands. The sailing season between Greenland and Europe shortens. Ships come less frequently. Norse farms that barely survived in good times become unsustainable. Grazing land shrinks. Livestock die. Harvests fail. But the Norse are stubborn. They stick to their European farming methods rather than adapting to Arctic conditions like the Thule. Then the Black Death strikes Europe. 1447 to 1453. The plague kills between 1/3 and 1/2 of Europe's population. Norway, Greenland's main trading partner, is devastated. The Norwegian fleet is decimated. Ships stop coming to Greenland. The North Greenlanders are cut off. In 1350, the western settlement is abandoned. When a priest visits in 1350, he finds empty farms, wandering livestock, but no people. What happened to them? Some theories, they died of starvation. They were killed by Thule raiders. They migrated to the eastern settlement. They sailed to America and never returned. We don't know. They simply vanished. The eastern settlement holds on. The last written record is a wedding certificate from 1408, a small ceremony in a remote church at the edge of the world. After that, silence. When European ships finally return to Greenland in the late 1500s, they find no Norse settlers, only abandoned farms, collapsed churches, and Inuit living among the ruins. The Norse Greenland colony had died. Why did they fail when the Thule survived? The Norse refused to adapt. They clung to European farming and Christianity, seeing themselves as Europeans in exile, not Arctic people. They didn't adopt Thule hunting techniques, clothing, or survival strategies. The Thule were flexible. They hunted seals, walruses, and fish. They moved seasonally. They had technology designed for extreme cold. When climate changed, the Thule adapted. The Norse didn't.
It's a lesson about survival. Adapt or die. With the Norse gone, the Thule, now called Kalatlit, the Greenlandic Inuit, were alone on Greenland. They lived traditionally, hunting and fishing, moving with the seasons. They had no written language, no permanent settlements, no contact with Europe. Then, in 1721, Europeans returned. Hans Egede, a Norwegian-Danish missionary, arrived with a mission: find the lost Norse settlers and re-Christianize them. He found only Inuit. Disappointed but determined, Egede decided to convert the